Hello, Christian woman. Hello. Just thought I'd stop by. I'm running errands today. Between meetings. So I just want to stop by. This popped into my mind. Sometimes someone will say to me, how do I set a boundary on the first date when it's just a first date? Now, again, some of these things may be obvious to some of you sisters out there, sisters in Christ, but some of our sisters are still really struggling. Okay, so I've mentioned this before. If somebody is being rude, this is something simple, okay? If somebody's being rude to the wait staff, for example, a server, this seems like an obvious one, right? But I'm just going to use this as an example. If someone is being rude to the server, and that's an indicator that there is something off with this person's character, okay? And yeah, it may be something seemingly small to someone, but it's a precursor. That person is showing you. People show you precursors, especially if it's showing up in the pattern. If that person is treating someone who is serving them in a restaurant, is not being rude to them or in any shape or form, but they're just nasty to them, you're next. That is a precursor. Do not go forward and try to see how it's going to be. Maybe he was having a bad day. No. If that was a bad day on a date to a server who's not doing anything wrong to you, I hate to see how that person is on an actual really bad day. Okay, don't set yourself up for that. I actually remember before I was married, I went on a date with this gentleman who was a nice gentleman and presented himself quite well. And this would be the second or third date. And this person, I'm going to use my own example, proceeded to be quite nasty to the server. I don't remember exactly what he said. This was several years ago, several years ago. Something like the server said, "Do you need anything else?" And the guy said, "Did I ask you if I needed anything else? Wouldn't I call you over here if I needed something else?" And the server was like, I said, "Ooh." I said, "What was that?" And I said it right there. I said, "That was rude." And he goes, "Well, he doesn't need to ask me." I said, "That's rude." And I looked at the server and I said, I'm sorry. I apologize. No, we don't need anything else. I finished off with the dinner because it was almost over anyway. And it was very uncomfortable. By the time we got to the parking lot and he asked me about another date, I said, "You know what? That little thing in there, that's not okay with me. That's not okay." He's like, "Oh, I'm just, having a, I've got a lot going on." I said, "Okay, there's nothing wrong with that." I said, "That's not okay with me." He said, "So when would you like to go?" I said, "No, I think we're all set." He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, we're all set. I really appreciate your time, and I think you were great up to that point." I said, "But that's a no-go, no deal." Sometimes you just really need to know when to cut it off, okay? It doesn't matter if he thought it was okay or somebody said, "Oh, that's not a big deal. Everybody has a temper." No. People show you very early their patterns. So you don't want to end up 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years later talking about, "Oh my God, I'm miserable. What did I get myself into?" Get out early. They show you early. Recognize the patterns, recognize the red flags early. Gotta go. Ciao.